to the class of 2020 SFCA. How are you? Smoking Joe Biden here. Want to congratulate you on your senior year. You're so close. You're a couple weeks away. And I just want to encourage you to just press on and finish strong. I know you're looking at some of these constitutional freedoms. You're looking at the First Amendment. I'm just going to encourage you. It's important that you know about the freedom of speech, freedom of press. All that's going to come into play as we move forward to this election in 2020 in November. And I know I can count on you. But again, this is Smoking Joe. I want to congratulate you on what you've accomplished this year. I want to encourage you. You're just weeks away from finishing your senior year, high school, and then you'll be launched into the world. And I just want to say I'm proud of you and congratulations, and continue to press on. Good morning, American government. Thursday, April 23rd. I'd like to thank candidate Biden, Joe Biden, for giving a little talk to you today. And again, I want to reiterate his words and just encourage you to finish strong. We're just weeks away from this being done, and then graduation from you. So you're so close. Just keep pushing. Just keep pushing. Just a quick reminder, a couple things. Your paper is due by 3 p.m. today. As we move on, we're going to press on with this First Amendment, and our next stop will be the freedom of speech. And you would think the freedom of speech, it seems simple, benign enough, until someone uses words or symbols that some folks find offensive. And it's this idea that most of us, the majority of us, we have an idea of what you ought to say, what you ought not to say, what you ought to do, what you not ought to do. And not quite sure where we learned all that, but you just ought not to say those things. You ought not to do those things. And then we think people should feel, right, and look at the world the same way that we look at it, and they ought not say that. That, you use that term, that's racist. You use that term, that's offensive. And you just ought not to say that. But the problem is not everybody looks at it that way. While the majority of us think, in a mainstream, we do have people on the outside that just don't look at it that way. And so we have those folks, and then we start to bring into the court system, and then that's when everything gets turned upside down and inside out. And when it comes to our freedom of speech legally, that's exactly what it is. Upside down and inside out. There's some things you can say, there's some things you can't say. Depends the context. How do you do it? And what has happened over time, again, with our Constitution, this living, breathing document, the court has ruled different ways over time. And what was once so out of bounds, you'd never be able to say that. You'd never be able to do that. That's just mainstream right now. And so there we are, and when it comes to freedom of speech, it is no different. I believe I've told you the story before, and we don't get into great details of it, but I was involved in the court system, and, in one of these negotiations, and I was with the court system in the back room, and lawyers, and, all the kind of crazy stuff that goes on there. And after listening to this for hours and hours and hours, and I said, wait a minute, what seems equitable and fair to me, and I will never forget it to that day they put me in the ground, is the court raised a hand and go, Mark. Yeah, we're not talking about what's fair and equitable. We're talking about the law. And that was probably the day that I just shook my head in dismay. And to be honest with you, to this day, I shake my head in dismay. And basically what I looked at him and going, so what you're telling me is that we have laws that are not fair and equitable. And he refused to answer the question, and we just moved on. But when it comes to freedom of speech, that's how this thing is. And we got the court systems involved in things that, there's pure speech and symbolic speech. And, we have slander, we have libel, can you defame someone's character? Can you put it in, it goes on and on and on and on. And so the courts gets involved. And then the court makes a ruling, and then that's sort of the law of the land for the time being, until someone challenges that. And so it's a convoluted mess. It's not this idealistic freedom of speech. You can basically say what you want to say, and we know there are some limitations, but it is a mess, and it is not as simple as it sounds as we start to go through those amendments. So, with all that being said, to lay the foundation for what we're going to get into next week, which is going to be taking a look at the combination of freedom of the press and freedom of speech, and how those two things sort of intertwine, and how that impacts our political system, what's going on current day politically. I need you to read page 366 to 370 in your book. Then there's on page 370, there's questions 1 through 3. And if you'll just finish those up, submit them to me by email on Monday the 27th, we'll be good to go. I do have 2 short videos I need you to watch. One's on the freedom of the press, and again, that'll lay some of the groundwork. I will include on this Canvas page, I will include the questions 1 through 3, so they'll be right there for you to look up and answer those. So, other than that, that's where we are. Again, remember that your paper's due at 3 p.m. today. It's going to be evaluated as a test grade, so please get it in. The ones I've read so far, most of them were very, very good and entertaining, and I certainly understand your position, and I think you articulated it extremely well. So, get those in by 3 p.m. today, and then take a look at page 370, these questions 1 through 3. Have those to me via email come Monday, and then we will just continue to move ahead. And again, we're going to talk about the freedom of the speech, and then we're going to look at freedom of press, and then we're going to sort of intertwine that into our current day political culture, and then that'll sort of wrap it up for us. Again, remember, we're done May 6th. It's less than 2 weeks away, so I just want to encourage you to just come on. Just finish the race. You can see the finish line. I can see it. So let's get there together. So if you need me, I'm here again, 8 to 11. And the truth of the matter is, I'm here all day. From 5:09 in the morning to I'm reading emails till I pass out at night when I go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. So if you need me, just send me an email. I'm here to help you, and I'll talk to you soon.